Okay, I'm going to run through a few questions. I will not do all of these. This is more intended to help you with ones that you may struggle with. So I'm going to start with number 4, and then I'm going to do 5 and 8, maybe. So in order to determine if it's one of the following, to find k on direct, it's y over x. To find k on inverse, it's y times x, and anything else, it wouldn't matter. So what you would do is either go through and multiply them and divide them, the x and the y. So if you multiply x times y first, so that's 2 times 420, 3 times 280, 4 times 210, and with all of those results, you get 840, and that means that it is inverse. Now, if I asked you to go further and write an equation, that would be what the equation looks like. And so then when you see real world situations with inverse, the order of the sentence, or just knowing what you can change. So again, you can change the value of x. Like you can plug in for x and get y. You can't change y. So it says the cost of student of a camping trip varies inversely as the number of students who attend. You can change the number of students who attend. So that's your x. So the cost is your y. So, when you're writing an equation, y equals k over x, you could also say cost equals k over number of students. And then in order to find the k, you would look at the first set of information. And looking at the first set of information, 85 times 28, that's how you find k in inverse. You multiply them. That would be c equals 2380 over n. And then, so that's the equation, and you always need the equation before you can find something that's missing. So then it asks us to find, to get the cost down to 7438. How many students would attend? So it says the cost is 7438. Okay, and so then in order to solve this, you could make this a proportion and cross multiply and solve it. And then you get n equals 32. Well, it's actually 31.998. So you could either say 31 or 32. 31 would probably be a better answer because you want to get the cost down to 34, 74, 38. But 31 or 32 would be acceptable answers. So if we jump to number 8, so 9 and 10 are worked the same way as the one I just worked. Number 8, I wanted to work because there's fractions. So in order to find the k, we would, hang on, let me find my answers. So it says they vary inversely given the following written equation. So if you have x and y, all you need to do is multiply x and y. So y equals 21 over 10 over x. But that's not really the proper way to write it. So again, inversely you multiply x and y to find the constant. So if we jump to some of these transformation graphs, say let's see, number 3. So let's describe it. So these 4 things that I circled can describe it. So we got to reflect because of the negative. We got to stretch because of the 2. We got right 3 because that one's lying to you, and up 1. So the up one is my horizontal, y equals 1. my x equals 3. Because it went right 3. So this is considered my new origin. Um, I could actually go ahead and state the domain, negative infinity to 1, nope, to 3, 3 to infinity. Range is negative infinity to 1, 1 to infinity. Don't worry about x-intercepts on these transformation graphs. We're going to use the table, negative 2, negative 1, 1, and 2. And so the equation we're going to use is the a over x. Make sure you take the negative with the a. And so I'm going to fill in this table with this is called the parent of this graph. So the parent of this graph is the a with a reflection over x. So I start plugging in these 4 numbers. It's always these 4 numbers. So that's 1, 2, negative 2, and 1. So now what I would do is I would, negative 1. I would take these points and I graph them from the new origin. This new origin is where these two asymptotes have moved the whole graph. And so I go negative 2, 1, negative 1, 2, 1, negative 2, 2, negative 1. Again, this is with the transformation ones. These, all of them with the A, H, and K are in transformation form. The ones on the back are not in transformation form. So let's flip to the back. Okay, the reason these are not in transformation form is because we have various variables. We have x's in both the numerator and denominator. So let's start with, we're going to do 2 of these back here. I'll just start with number 7. So first off, I'm going to do is factor. May need more room than what the paper has. Okay, so what we see here is that, oops, I messed up. We can actually go in and state the whole. The whole is where the numerator and denominator have something in common. And so you can see here that they both have an x. So I'm going to cross both of these off, telling me I have a whole at 0 something. And so what I would do is plug in 0 for the 3 remaining x's. So that's 0 plus 4 times 0 minus 4. That's negative 16. Over negative 4 times 0 plus 3, that's negative 12. So that ends up giving us about 1.3. So then what I have remaining is how I will state the VA, which is x equals negative 3. That's the denominator. The HA is y equals a slant. So I'll get to that in a little bit. And then my x-intercept comes from my numerator, negative 4, 0, and 4, 0. My domain has to deal with my whole and my VA, so negative infinity to negative 3 first, negative 3 to 0, that's the whole, and then 0 to infinity. And then now what we'll do, let's go ahead and graph the important stuff. So we have a whole at 0, 1.3. We have a VA at negative 3. We're going to have a slant in there, so which means that if you have one VA, that means that you have only 2 pieces of your graph on this graph. So I'm going to do my dividing up here. So negative 4x squared minus 12x divided by x to the third minus, okay, so here's a problem. You can see here, we are missing our linear term here in our equation on the top. So in order to do my dividing, I have to put something in its place. So you fill it in with a 0. So I'll divide negative 4x squared into x to the third. That's negative 1/4 x. And then I multiply. Don't forget to switch your sign, so that's negative 2x squared. And then divide that, that's plus 1/2. Nope, that's not plus 1/2. Let's see. I did my math wrong. So that was a 0. So for some reason I thought that was a 1. So when we do this again, that's negative 3x squared. So when I divide these two, that's a positive 3/4. So my asymptote is at negative 1/4 x plus 3/4. So remember, this is a sketch, so, you know, you do the best you can to be as accurate as you can. Okay, and so judging by what I have here, I'm going to go and graph my intercept. So that's at 4, 0, negative 4, 0. So this one's going to come down like this. This one's going to, ooh, that was terrible. So there's number 7. So number 7 had almost everything in it that we would see on these rational graphs. So let's do number 10. So number 10, I would first factor out a 2, so I'd be left with x squared plus 2x minus 3. And then I would take that further, x plus 3, x minus 1, x plus 2, x minus 2. Your VA comes from your denominator, x equals plus or minus 2. That's both of those. Your HA is the same. If you look at your starting degrees, they're both x squared, so you divide what's in front, y equals 2. My x-intercepts are what's on the numerator, negative 3, 0, and 1, 0. My domain, negative, no holes. If you notice, there's nothing to cancel, so I just need to state my domain, skipping both vertical asymptotes at negative 2 and positive 2. And if you can't do the domain until after you graph, that's fine. So we graph our negative 2, our positive 2, and then we have our HA at 2. And so I have a couple points to plot. I have negative 3, 0, and 1, 0. So negative 3, 0, 1, 0. I also could find a y-intercept, and in this case the y-intercept, this is extra, 0, 1.5. So 0, 1.5 is right here. So I'm kind of wondering what's going on in the middle. In order to know what's going on in the middle, I have to know what's going on the outsides. So judging by this 1 point, there's a good chance that this one is going like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take a point over here. So I took 4. No. I took 5, and I plugged 5 into this equation. And so I just picked a point on this side. So it's 2 times 5 plus 3 is 8. 5 minus 1 is 4. Over 5 plus 2 is 7. 5 minus 2 is 3. So that's 64 over 21, I think. I feel like that math is wrong. 5 minus 1 is 4. 2. I think that's right. So it should be 5. What would that be? So about 3 point something. So 5, 3 point something is like right here. So that means that this one's coming down like this. So that means if these two are in opposite corners, that means you have a cubic going on in the middle. So it won't run up next to this one. So it's got to come down like this, can go away from the other one. So any of the other ones can be found on my Remind 101 message. If you need an extra review to start over on, you can find them on Canvas. I will be here after school and in the morning.